Hello and welcome to Java Programming Lesson 2. This time we are going to discuss about objects in action, which means we are going to work with objects. In the previous lesson, if you have followed the previous video, you would have learned about how to write a class, which is like how to write a basic program in Java. We didn't write much logic, we just used a print statement or we just display something on the screen. But Java is more than just printing some statement or displaying something on the screen. It's like working with some variables and manipulating those variables and going ahead. Okay, so those are the things we're going to discuss here. And most of the times, as we have already discussed when we were discussing the concepts of class, we discussed that various objects are various objects inside the class. Classes can have various objects underneath it, right? So all objects take the form instantiated from the class. So those are objects, can be variables and related to variables. So those are the concepts we are going to discuss here. So let's see in brief what we are going to discuss. We are going to discuss about the data types in Java, which are primitive data types. Primitive data types, when I say it, means that we have seen this kind of data types in other programming languages too. So if you are trying to talk to a programmer in Python or C or any other language, they will understand if you say these primitive data types, for example, int, integer, number, so those kind of things, character. Those data types are primitive data types which are commonly understood by other programmers and may have a standard meaning. Okay, and then we have non-primitive data types which are uh, in Java are the Java proprietary data types, and they are written using classes. So the programmers have written class which use the primitive data types, the basic data types, and make a complex data types. Like they use character data types to make string data type. Okay, so that string is not understood by other programmers as it is being understood in Java. Okay, that's why it's called non-primitive data types, which is non-standard across various programming languages. So in Java, only those data types will work because programmers have written those special data types by writing classes. And then we'll see some examples of the class data type, which is non-primitive. I'm sorry. And then we'll see some variables, because these data types are the ones which are going to get plugged to variables. So you can declare variables. Some variables may be number type, some variables may be character data type, some numbers may be Boolean data type. So we are going to see those variables. How basically, when I say variables, you are going to see how variables will be assigned those data types. And then we'll see constants. I have used the word final here because in Java they use the word final to declare a constant. That's why constant or final should be synonymous for us in Java language. So variables will change the values, but constants don't change the values. They declare on top of the programming language or somewhere once and try to remain same throughout the program. Then we'll discuss about one new class. In the previous class, we had discussed about Java X class, which was a JOption class to display some kind of GUI screen, which was part of the lesson 1. So now this time we are going to discuss about a special class called a scanner class. So this class has been written so we can use that class and try to get input from the user. So maybe in some program language it is a one-line thing to get input from the user. You don't need something special library or anything. But in Java you need the scanner class to get input from the keyboard, or like at runtime. Okay. So if you want the user to enter any input, so you need to use the scanner class. How you use it, we'll see one example so it becomes clear. And I have included it here as an example because many programs you want to take input from the user, so you should know how to accept data from the user and save it in a variable and then manipulate it. Okay, process it, and then we'll see that simple program. Okay, so let's get started if you have time. So let's get right into it. The data types of Java. Okay, this will be a big chart, various data types, but at the end of the day, we'll focus only on few data types because those are the most commonly ones used. But for the sake of completion of this slide, I have kept all of them, and it's good to know in case you want to write a very high-performing program, a program which is carefully thought of, carefully planned, which needs high performance and less memory usage. Then you can choose wisely if you know all the different types of data types. Of course, you can Google them, and I have kept some of them here in this slide. Okay, let's get started. The first one is byte data type, which can hold values, integer values from -127 to 128. Okay, they are related to 2 to the power of 8 because they take 8 bits to store. Okay, so sorry, for -127 it will be like 2 to the power of 7, and that one extra bit is being used for minus sign. So You see here on the right side I have written size 8-bit. 8-bit means there are 8 positions and each of those positions can take 0 or 1, 0 or 1. So that binary number. Okay. So since each position is 0 or 1, that means it can hold two values. So that's why we have, if you study permutation combinations, you will realize how you can get how many types of numbers you can, how many numbers you can get if you have 8 positions to fill and each position is each position can take 0 or 1, like 2 digits option. So it is, the formula comes like 2 to the power of 8. But to compensate for minus, we have the formula like 2 power 7 and 1 by 1 bit is for the negative sign. So that's how it's related, the size and the possible values. Okay, so 2 power 8 is 120, 2 power 7 is 128, and that's how it is. And just remember that 127 minus 127 to 128, you can use the data type as byte. Okay, if your variable name is b, then you declare it like this, byte b. That's all. That is the declaration. And then you can also initialize the value. Initialize the value means setting an initial value for your variable. So here you are setting the variable b equal to 100, which is optional. Okay, in terms of variables, if you are having a variable, it's optional. You can set it later in the program. Okay, you can just leave it at byte b and complete the program command by putting a semicolon at the end. That means byte b means you introduce the variable b of data type. You assign the data type as byte. It can hold only values from minus 127 to 128. If you want a user to enter data and try to save in that, and if the user enters 129, it will throw error. Okay, so but you can initialize it something like this. If you want to set an initial value like 0 or 1 or 100 or whatever, you can set it like that. Okay, but remember, it is only for integers. The next data type is short, which holds little bit more than 127 to 128 range. It holds minus 32,768 to 32,767. Okay, the square brackets I have put, which means those numbers are included. Okay, if I put a round bracket, the parenthesis bracket around this range, then it will mean that I have not included the ending numbers. Okay, that's the common nomenclature they used in mathematics. Okay, so what I'm talking about is this one. This bracket, this means it's included, and if it is this, then it is not included. Okay, let's go. So it holds 16-bit position, which 16 bits means 2 bytes. Okay, 8-bit means 1 byte. So if you want to talk in terms of bytes, you say 2 bytes. If you want to talk in terms of bits, you say 16-bit. Okay, so that you can declare something like this. If your variable name is daily transfer limit, then you can declare it as short daily transfer limit. But if you want to initialize or set a value in the beginning itself, you can do it here, or you can write a next line and say daily transfer limit equal to 1200. Okay, it will become 2 lines, short daily transfer limit 1 line, and next line will be daily transfer limit equal to 1200 or whatever number you want to put. But you can do it in 1 line also if you already know what the initial value should be. Okay, so you can choose. See, if you choose by, if you know your values can be like up to 128, like in terms of motorcycles. If you are making a motorcycle that can go up to a speed of 128, and if you want to display those numbers, you don't need to declare them as short. You can declare them as byte, because you don't need to display something more than 128, right? So you'll save space in your memory chip, and it can be a fast performing program. So next data type is int. Int can hold int takes up to 4 bytes of data to store, 32 bits, and it can have values from minus 2 power 31 to 2 power 31, and that number minus 1. So that's the range of integers, int data type. And then there is another special data type. So when this we'll cover in non-primitive ones, but for the sake of comparison, I put both the data types here: int with the small I and int with the uppercase I. The small I starts with minus number, minus to the 2 to the power 31, whatever that number may be, till it can hold so much. Okay, so I give you an example how the 2 power 31, what kind of value it represents, something in millions. And then the int class with uppercase I will hold the values from 0 onwards, like all positive numbers including 0, like whole numbers. So all these three which we discussed here, all these three of them are integers data type. Okay, and they hold, the int class will hold 32-bit of space, and it can if you declare with small I, you can have negative values from minus 2 to the power 31 to 2 to the power 31, that minus 1. Okay, and here in this case both are correct because both can have positive numbers. Only small int can have negative values also. Okay, all right. Moving on, we have next data type is long. This is also integer data type. Okay, all this while we are discussing integers data type, which can hold more values, which is minus 2 power 63 to 2 power 63, and this also has one special data type, which is uppercase long, which holds only positive numbers. So from 0 onwards to 2 power 64 minus 1. So, and it takes at least 8 bytes to store. And this is an example: long, variable name, and the value. So when you declare the numbers like this, integer, don't put comma because comma is not used in the program. Okay, so those commas are not required. And I think we forgot the example for int class, int data type, the small int and the uppercase int. So example is similar to all the examples we have seen: int, variable name, and equal to value. And this value, equal to value, is optional. Okay, when you are talking about variables, this is optional at this stage. Okay, moving on. Now we're gonna get into decimals. Okay, so the first data type in decimal is float, which will correspond similar to int. Okay, int and float will be similar. Only thing is int will have integers, float will have decimals. Okay, so that's the difference between them. They are similar. They hold the same range of values: 2 power minus 2 power 31 to 2 power 31 minus 1. They occupy the same amount of space, but these can have decimal values. Okay, now here in this case we are trying to use the word final, which is actually used when we say constant. When we declare constant, we use the word final. If you want to declare it as variable, it will only be so much, float pi or float whatever. But if you want to do the constant, then you need to use the word final. Okay, final, data type name, variable name, and then the value. With final, it becomes a constant. Now it's a constant data type. All the above ones we were discussing were variable because that didn't have final word in the beginning. Okay, and then these are additional parameters we have to write. Public, static, we will discuss those in details later. Just I put up this example because I wanted to show decimal number, and I got the value as 3.14, and 3414 corresponds to pi, which is usually used in programming languages as constant. And similarly, gravity value 9.8f is also used as a constant. That's why I had to put the example of final. I use the word final to show the constant example. Okay, so there is one other important thing I need to show here is the use of letter f. Is the use of this letter f, the lowercase f and the uppercase f. So when you declare a float data type, which means you use the word float before your variable name, then this f is needed. Okay, then that f is needed to be placed there. It can be any case, lowercase or uppercase. Okay, that is f is needed to write. And this is a simple decimal number, right? 3.14. So the simplest form of decimal number you want to use, you have to use the data type float, and it will be f. But this is not commonly used, not so commonly used. Let's discuss the one that is commonly used. Okay, which is double. Double is very commonly used, and it holds a wider range of values. And this one will correspond to something similar to long. Okay, long and this one have the similar size and similar values, but the difference is this is decimal. Okay, double is decimal and long is integers only. Okay, so double will have decimal, and it holds same as long, which is 8 byte size, and values can be minus 2 power 64. So it is a very big number. Okay, so in this time I use the same example as above, but see, this f is not there. No f needed. Okay, so already I have written there, so I'll erase this. Since it is default, f or f is not needed, unlike float where that's why I said this is most commonly used because it is default. So if you just say Okay, I made a mistake here, so it should not be float here, it should be double in this slide. So make sure you correct it and don't get confused, it should be double data type. Okay, moving on. It's a similar example as the previous one. Instead of the word float, you can use double, but then at the end, if you use the word double, you don't need to use the f at the end. Okay, if you use float, f is needed. If you use the word double before the variable name, f is not needed. Okay, they can hold decimal numbers. Double advantage is it can hold a very larger value set of numbers. Okay, next coming on to character, which is like the only string primitive data type. This is primitive data type. Okay, primitive, and this is the only text data type. This is the only text data type we have in primitive, which is char, a single character which takes only 2 bytes. So with 2 bytes, you can just declare only one character. So I'll put it in single quote. It's supposed to be in single quote. So example is char random letter, which is a variable name. That's how you declare it, and how you put the value. Random letter equal to m, and the data, if the m is your value, and the data should be in single quote. Okay, single quote like this. Okay, that is the character data type. When I was speaking about the non-primitive, that's what they do in the non-primitive is they use this char and make a string data type, like you can store multiple characters. But if you want to deal with only one single character, if your variables are, if you want a program needs only one character, then char is the data type. And the most important one is the Boolean data type, which is to write efficient programming languages. If you can use Boolean, that is best, because that corresponds to the default data type of the computer program: binary, 0, 1, true, false, on off, those kind of values it can take. Okay, in Java, it shows the values as true and false. The Boolean is having true or false values. It takes only one bit to store. See, if this is the one which takes the least amount of space to store and can give two set of values, either true or false. Okay, so how you declare it? You use the word Boolean and then the variable name. In this case, the variable name is test condition, and then test condition equal to true is our command, which means test condition will be set to a Boolean value of true. True. Uh, so here the word true will be displayed, but true doesn't mean the text true. It means internally to the program Boolean true. Boolean true is different than the text true. Okay, if you write the text true in double quote, that doesn't mean it is having a Boolean true. It can be, it can result in some other value. Okay, those are different things. If you put double quote, it will mean something else. So this true value has to be in lowercase, and it should be without any kind of quote. Okay, though it looks like a text, it is not a text. It has a meaning to it. So never put text around the Boolean values, which is true or false. Okay, these are the data types. Let's move on. So I have it here, which is the same thing. That's the commonly used ones. Okay, just a recap. Int is used to store integers. Double is used to store the decimal numbers. Char is used to store a single character, and Boolean is used to store true or false values. Okay. A new set of data types are formed by writing class called as datatype class. So this is the non-primitive. Non-primitive data types. Okay, these class start with uppercase letter because their class names always start with uppercase letter. We will discuss that. So we will see the example. So we already saw that lowercase int starts where we can have values from minus some 2 power 31 onwards, but uppercase int starts with 0. Okay, range is positive side range is same, but it doesn't have negative values int. And then long, similarly, is having the wider values, but it doesn't have negative numbers. Okay, we already saw that in previous slide. And then the most important one is string. This is very widely used in Java, and string is written from, they have used the char data type internally and wrote a new class called as string. And if you declare a variable, I should say actually object, when you declare object of class string, then it can get the property of strings, which is like hold of multiple characters in it. Plus there will be many more details about the string class we'll discuss in further chapters, but for now string is used to hold multiple characters. Okay, so int is most commonly used for integers data, long is most commonly used for decimal data, string is the most commonly used data types for text data. So how you use the string, I'm showing the example of string here. You use the class names, which is string, or in this case you can say data type string, and a variable name or the object name, welcome message equal to hello world. Okay, actually this is a short form. The way the string data type is used to declare the way the objects are declared with the string class or data type is little complex, little bigger. Okay, it will have various other keywords in Java, like how you instantiate constructor and all those things, but programmers have simplified it because it's used so commonly that it is simple. It is just looks like any other variable we declare. Okay, first you put the data type name, and then you put the variable name, and then you say your value if you want to here, or you can put the values in the later lines. Okay, you don't need to set the value in the same line where you declare the data type. Okay, so this is data type you declared, this is your variable name, and this value is optional here. It can come in the next line also. Next line, if you want to write, you can write as welcome message equal to hello world. That's all. Okay, so it can become 2 line or 1 line. It depends on how you want to write it. Move on to next slide. Okay, getting on to variable. We all have understood by now what the variable is. Variables store some value temporarily within the program so that we can manipulate them. We accept some input from user, or we manipulate some values, but we store them or we identify them through the some name, right? That name is a variable. Okay, so the variable setup is two-stage process. First, we declare its data type when its name is first introduced. Okay, and then, I mean, the example for that would be string space variable name, which is subject, and then you close that with semicolon. You can continue with this one equal to and then value, up to you if you want to set the value in the beginning. Okay, it's totally optional. And then you initialize or set the value for first time. So that's what you can continue the previous example with equal to and set the value at that time itself, or put it as a two-stage, 2-line program. So the second line would be subject equal to Java, for example, if you want to set the value as Java, and then complete it with a semicolon. Okay, and then already you've declared and initialized it, but if you don't use it further, what is the point of introducing it and initializing it? So in the program you start using it, like you compare it with something or whatever. So for in this example, we try to compare the variable subject with with a text value, which is literal here. So variable word subject is compared with a literal. The literal value is equal to Java print fun subject. Okay, here I have compared a string with Java, but this is purely notational. Purely notational. Okay, strings don't compare like that. Strings don't compare with equal. They have a different way to compare. Okay, but this is just pure notational. So if subject, I would say equals or whatever. There's a different way to do it. I'm just showing you notation. This is not real syntax of how you compare strings in Java. Okay, constants. We have already seen constants are used with the word final. So use keyword final to declare constants. The name of constant is usually written in uppercase. So we'll see that example here. So here let's take an example of a constant word called as degree. Degree is a constant, and since it's a constant, we'll use the word degree as uppercase word. Okay, that's just a notation. Okay, you can write smaller case, but usually every programmer will understand uppercase words as constants. So, and then you can declare it something like this: final string constant name equal to the value, because you want to set the value. Constants will always have value, otherwise it will not accept, it will not complete. This is not optional this time. So this value, not optional. You have to put the value, like anything, whatever the value. The word degree can be used in program, but its value will remain the same. That is computer science in this example. Okay, this is how you declare the constant. It will be just like variable, but in the beginning it will have the final word, and end the value has to be given to it. Okay, and it doesn't change. Subject. Now I'm giving a contrast with the regular variable. How you do the regular variable is you can put the value for the regular variable in a next line. Okay, you don't need to initialize the variable value in the line where you declare it, but in constants you have to declare the variable value, because it's a constant. It's not variable, it's a constant. So you have to you have to declare it constant, and then you have to set the value in the beginning, which is called initialize the value, and that is constant value. It doesn't change. But in the variable left side, you see the subject equal to Java, and I'm showing that after some time you are changing the value of subject to English. So that's the difference between the constant variable. Let's talk about scanner class briefly before we jump into the program, simple program. So scanner class is used to accept keyboard input from user in command line execution. So when you run a program during the runtime, if you want to ask user input, then you use the scanner class. It's very simple. I mean, it will be used so many times that you get used to it. In the beginning, it will look complex, but it's very simple once you start keep on writing it. Okay. So this is how it looks. So it's a class which you have to import it. It's not by default built in Java, so you have to import it, like how we did the G option JavaX in the lesson one. So here you use import java.util.scanner. Okay, see the word scanner is in uppercase. It's a class name, and how you use it once you import in the beginning. Beginning, if you import, the usage is you have to identify a variable. This is input device. This is variable value. Okay, this can be anything. This is like declaring a variable. This is the variable, and this is the data type now, which is the class object. This is the class, this is the object. You got a new object on that class. Okay, and that object you can use it later to get the input from user. So how you use it? You say scanner word, which is fixed, and your object name can be anything. In this example, we use the word input device equal to new scanner system.in. Okay, that is this is a right side part is always remains to be this way. Okay, and then if you want to grab the name of the user and you want to ask the user, please input your name, and user wants to type in the name, so you have to capture that value. Okay, how you will capture? You will capture in a variable called as name here, as in this example, name equal to, now whatever object you have declared in the scanner class, which is your input device, that same word you have to use. Okay, that is not changeable. Once you declare it in the class, once you get that object, you have to start using that object. So now in the input device object, you have to put the method. The scanner class has a method called as next line, which means next line means the variable name will start holding the values whatever the user types until he hits enter. Okay, until the next line is returned. Next line means hitting enter. Until the next line, whatever the user is typing, that will be captured in the variable called as name. Okay, and then if you ask the user again, please enter your age, and user wants to enter the age, this time you know it will be a number, so you will capture the value of his age in a variable age. You may declare that age as integer, right? Or yeah, integer. So when you say uh, int and the variable name age, you have declared in the beginning as int age as the integer type. Okay, now age can only accept integer number. So for that, in the input device object, you have to call the method next int. The next int is uppercase int, because you don't want a negative number also, right? So next int, next line, all these are the methods for the scanner class, which you can apply run on the object whatever you have declared here, whatever you have got here. So when the user enters number, only the numbers will get captured into the age value. Okay, if the user tries to enter some string, it will not get, because you're trying to accept the input device. You are using the method next int here. Okay, let's get into the next slide. So we saw in the previous example next int, how next int is used and next line is used. And if you want users to enter some kind of a decimal number, a big decimal number double, next double is the value you have to use. Okay, like your object name, whatever you declare, input device dot next double. Okay, input device dot next int, input device dot next line, input device dot next will reduce the next complete token as string. So any space limiter, like you write one word and put a space, then that entire value will be taken into next if you use the next method. Okay, similarly next short, next byte, next float, next long, all these are similar. So you can read them based on whatever data type you want to capture from the user. Okay, basically you'll use next int and next line more frequently. Next line to get string data type, next int to get the number data type. Okay, so here is another example. This seems to be a complete example of getting the name and age. So here I have declared, after importing Java util.scanner class, I have declared that string class has object name. Okay, or if you want to understand in a very common word, it can say the data type string and the variable name is of data type string. Okay, but in reality it is actually an object. Name is an object of class string. And then int, so another variable is age and its data type is int. Okay, so we can capture string data type on name, but for age we can capture integer. So let's declare a object for scanner class. How we declare the object? This is the object. Okay, this is a variable, actually it is a object. So I'm trying to bring out some correlation between objects and variables and class and data types. So scanner is your class, object is, this is a variable here in this case. Why I have written that? So you can change that. You don't have to keep it hard and fast, this same word. But the scanner and on the right side new scanner, this always has to remain same. Okay, do not change that. For taking in accepting input from user, you need to put the exact same syntax, except the second word on the left side, that can be changed up to your choice. You can use any word, but whatever you choose here, you have to keep using that in the next line. I'm going to draw that in circles. So once you use this, that is the same word you have to use here. Okay, because it knows that that variable, that word is of scanner class, and it can call the methods of the scanner class. The methods are like next line and next int. They are used to get user input. Okay, so basically scanner is just a class to create an object of that class so that we can call those methods. Those methods are next line and next int. All right, so here we say system.out.print, please enter your name. Okay, then the user is going to enter his name. While he's entering the name, how we capture it? We capture it with the program, with the command name equal to that same object name dot next line. Until he hits an enter, the value will be captured in the variable name. Then we display a message on the screen, please enter your age. Until he enters his age, when he enters his age and hits enter, it will get captured in age, as long as he puts some kind of a number that matches with the data type we have. So when the user is inputting the data, it should match the data type we declared in the beginning. Okay, everything is related. Check this out. So here we call the name as string class, and that is related to this. Okay, they are related. And then when we use the age and its int class, this is related to this. Okay, so we could have used uppercase int also, but commonly they use lowercase int. For age, of course, you can use uppercase int because you want only. So see how things are related. So you use the next int class because next int will get integer numbers. Because you want to capture only int value, you'll use next int. You want to capture string value, you want to use next line. Okay, so those are the methods provided by the scanner class. Okay, now let's write a very small program. What it does is this will create a Java file name and then use that program to prompt for, say for example, number of guests for the party. Okay, maybe this food service price. This program is for the party provider or caterer. He is going to ask the user enter number of guests. Okay, something like that. and then he has a fixed price per person cost is 20. That is the constant value here. Okay, and the fourth point, which is 2 times return, let's call 4a and 4b. So we're gonna mark the catering as large if guests are more than or equal to 50. So maybe we'll use the boolean here. Okay, like if the guests are greater than 50, say the the event is or catering is large. If the guests are less than 50, then we'll mark it as false. Okay, that's how we have to display is catering large event. Is this a large event? We have to say true or false word. Okay, that will be handled by boolean. And then 4b is we need to calculate the total price of the catering based on guest count. So total price will be how can we get that? We are already asking user for the number of guests, and we know the constant value of price per person is 20. So we multiply that 20 with the number of guests, and we get the total price of the catering service. That is simple mathematics here. And then fifth one is display a message, just best food service with dash line. That is simple print statement. And then the sixth point is displaying everything. Number of guests, what is the value, price per guest, what's the value, total price is large, even, true or false. So that's how your display should be. Okay, so we already worked in the previous program how to use Eclipse or simple notepad program. We'll go ahead and use the Eclipse again, and we'll quickly write this program. You can pause the video and start writing for yourself, and you can see if you're stuck, you can continue further and see how to write this program. Okay, read the question again if you have doubts, so that as long as you understand the question properly, you will be able to write it and follow the solution. Okay, so if you have tried writing the program, following the simple method of opening the Eclipse, creating a class, and writing it as we followed in lesson 1, so you should have used the same model what we wrote in lesson 1 and started writing this program. So we already have written this program, and we're gonna show you the solution, and this is how you should have written it. Okay, I'm going to read out, and maybe I'll post another video of demoing how to write this program if there's a problem, but I'm not able to open the Eclipse right now, so I'll continue with this saved answer. Okay, so let us go ahead and go line by line. So all of us understand this line, import Java util scanner. Okay, this is used to get user input through the scanner class, which is always declared. Import is always declared in the beginning. Okay, next we write the structure of our program. We always write public class name. Here you can choose any program, so I chose test food. You need to choose whatever was given, like best food service .java. So your file name should be, if you're using Eclipse, you don't have to worry about file name. It will automatically create the file name. If you are using Notepad, then file name should be test food, in this case, .java, or whatever the question was, best food service .java, whatever. So this will be the file name, but Eclipse will automatically create the file name based on what you choose the class. Okay, here you chose this bracket here and this. Okay, so that is the class main structure. Now let us go ahead and write the main method. Okay, that is the same thing we wrote in the previous program also. We wrote the main method after writing the class name. So main method, no change. This will remain the same, exact same. Public static void main string args with this bracket, and it's completed here. Okay, so this goes till here. Okay, now once we have written that, we can start working on our program. Okay, follow this program because we will use this program to build complex concepts later down the line. Okay, so this will be our base program, and we'll keep using this to solidify our concepts in programming. Okay, so here we want to accept user input for guest count, so we declare the variable int. Okay, a variable guest count with data type int, because number of guests will be always integer, right? It won't be decimals. That's why we don't use double. And then we use price per person cost as $20. This can be like double because price can be $20.5 or something like that. Okay, so you can have anything double based on your choice. Since this was, we knew it will be only 20, we knew the value, so you can declare as int. Okay, and the variable name, and the final is needed. Why? Because it is a constant value. We don't want it to change. You can still go ahead with your program without the word final, and it will work, but again you have the confusion, and there may be chances that somehow the value gets manipulated and your program will not behave if the price per person cost value gets changed in the program to like 30, then some customers will get wrong uh, some customers will be charged wrong price. Okay, so we declare constant to avoid those kind of errors or problems. Similarly, we have set the requirement of this program was to display it as a large order for guests greater than or equal to 50. So that cutoff value 50 is also a constant. That's why we use the word final, and it's an integer number. The cutoff was like number of guest type of value, so we kept integer. And large order cutoff, see, that can be any word. Okay, that is not mandatory to keep same word. You can keep any word. Just for your reference, you can whatever you understand and whatever you want other programmers to read the variable constant name as. Okay, now comes the first instantiation of the scanner class, and the instantiated object name is input device here. Okay, scanner input device equal to, so only the one that I boxed out can change, can be any word, but rest everything else is same. Scanner, and on the right side equal to new scanner system in, exactly same. So that doesn't change, and the first line doesn't change. First line import java.util scanner has to be there. I mean, if you're importing multiple things, it can be anywhere, but it needs to come before the public class line. Okay, moving on. We have other couple of other variables. So okay, here we declare the total price as double, uh, assuming the total price can be sometimes decimal value. In our case, it won't be because we used everything integer as the person cost, and the larger person per person cost, and the guest count is integer. It won't be, but I'm just trying to show you how to use double also. Double and the variable name total price, and then we have another variable called as is large order, which we are keeping initially as false. Okay, we assume initially there are zero or guests. You can keep here int guest count equal to 0. Okay, something like that. Then boolean, how you declare it? Boolean is large order is just another variable equal to false. Okay, no double quotes for boolean values. And then we have another last variable which is message, and its data type is string, which is like actually a class, and the object is message here. So anyway, we have all the different types of data types and variables we have declared here. Okay, so if you understand this, let's get into asking user, please enter guest count. Okay, how you say that? You say using the print command. Okay, we are using print statement, system.out.print. We have seen this in previous program. We just did that similar thing in previous. This will not do anything, just a message is displayed, but it will trigger the user. The user will start saying, okay, let me start typing. When user starts typing, you should be ready with your next command. Okay, this is the main important command. What it is going to do, it's going to use the object input device, and it will call the method next int on that. So what the method is going to do, it will accept whatever user is typing, it will start saving that in guest count. Okay, if the data type matches of guest count and whatever user is entering, you oh, and it has to be next int because we declared as next int. So if it matches, it will be stored in guest count. Okay, now once we get guest count, we can calculate total price. Basic, simple, and formal. In Java, you can use star as multiplier sign. Okay, so you get total price equal to guest count into per person cost. Complete the command with semicolon, and then the next part is we need to check if the order is large or small. We already declared the order is small because we say initially it says false. Boolean is large order equal to false. So now we just need a switch that can say it is large order. So how we can check that? We can say if statement. We'll study more detail later, but for this program, let's see. The simple syntax is if, and in bracket you write the condition. Condition is if guest count is greater than or equal to that 50 value. Okay, we are using a constant for that 50 value. Greater than or equal to large order cutoff. If that happens, then run the next command, which is large order value is set to now true. No double quotes for the word true. So now large order will be set to true only when guest count is greater than 50. It won't get executed. This line will not execute if the above statement is false. Okay, once everything is done, we have one more variable of string data type, and we are trying to store so many things into that. Okay, here we are using new line. Focus on that because new line will start showing the output on a new line. So this is just a display of whatever you found, all the variables. So in string, you can join the strings with the Plus sign is called as concatenation, so you can concatenate multiple variables or things using plus sign. Okay, literals you just write like in double quotes, and the slash n to start a new line should be also in the double quote. And then if you want to add something else, then put plus and start writing it again. You can write that in next line or in same line, however you want to write. Here, whatever I have displayed, you can do that. Plus in the double quote, you write anything like best food service, put a slash n inside double quote. Slash n means the output will be displayed in new line, not because you are writing in new line. Whatever you're writing, program will think you are writing in one line only. Okay, only slash n will send this display in the next line. Then again put dash 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 dash, and then again slash n, it will put the display in next line. Okay, even though you have written your this program with plus in the multiple lines, Java will think you have written in one line only. Okay, only slash n is going to make it think that the display needs to go to next line. Then you are writing number of guests, that is a literal. Then you are joining that literal, you use the plus sign to join with a variable. Variable word does not go in double quote. Okay, so number of guests plus guest count doesn't go in guest count doesn't go in double quote because it's a variable. Okay, and then you join that with again a new line. New line character goes in double quote. Then you write same way, price per guest plus price per cost. That's again a constant. Again, you don't want to put constant or anything that is having some meaning in the program will not be written double quote. Double quote, you only write things that are literals or special words like slash n here. Okay, and then total price plus total price large event plus is large order. So this will display the word true or false. So it will display large event semicolon or the colon and then space, and then it will display false or true based on whatever the user has given the input. Okay, and then this command is to print whatever string we generated. Message is what we are just building here, it's not printed. So we generated that variable, we filled in some value for that message word variable, and then we are displaying the variable message here. Okay, this is how the program is. I'm going to clear it off so it becomes clear for us to understand. Okay, thank you for watching the video.